Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Tribe Podcast. Today we're going to talk about parallel lives and past lives. But also we wanted to talk about the difference because I think that sometimes, some cases, people get confused between parallel and past lives. But hey, I wanted to do an update about how we were before we jumped into the subject. How are you, Lorena?
I am good. I've been pretty busy, which has been good. Well, we got over COVID, both of us. You got it first, and I got it, and I'm doing good. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of anything else I need to update.
The only problems I had when I had COVID was like everything was coming out of me.
Ew.
Both, like, at all ends. But I lost a lot of weight. I'm like, ooh, I'm looking pretty good now. But, I guess since my body lost a lot of weight quickly, it gained it back pretty quickly.
Yep.
So it was, like, worse. I was like, oh, I just gained weight, actually.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Other than that, I mean, hoping, fingers crossed, we finish level 2 for May. That is my goal. I'm putting it out there to the universe, to you guys. So hopefully it could be before then, but hopefully for May, we'll have that up on our Thinkific site. So at the moment, we're just going to publish that on our like website. And anybody that wants to do that course can do it online. We're not going to be doing it on Zoom for now. We'll figure out if that changes at some point and we can announce that. But for now, it'll just be on, at your own pace, online. And that allows you to become an Akashic Record Reader for other people. So, if you've done level 1, you'll be able to do level 2. And, we're really excited for that. I'm excited for it. And Lou and I have been figuring out ways that we can do it also to make it more interactive, like more engaging and like more fun for you guys. So we'll see how that works out. And it's a whole process creating a course, right? Like it takes time. It takes a lot of time and energy. And like everything, we want to make sure it's okay. We want to make sure everybody's happy with it and that you learn what you need to learn and you get all the information and more. Because we talk a lot about like experience and all that too. So that's important to us. But other than that, really, I don't think there's much else to say except, I'm going to Uruguay. So by the time this episode comes out, I'll be in Uruguay. So I'm going to go there for a little bit to see the family. And I'm excited. I'm also a little bit freaked out with traveling still. Haven't traveled in over 2 years. So it's interesting. What about you, Lou?
Yeah, it's just annoying. That's what it is. Traveling with all these new rules and things like that. Me, the only other update is we had 1 week of sun and I felt like I was a flower. I was like coming back alive after the winter. And now Monday hit and it's like the weather. We're going to have like 2 weeks of rain again and it's cold and it's like cloudy and man.
Oh no.
When is it just gonna... Already, like, we didn't have a summer last year, so it's like, come on. So I was really feeling good about myself, and I was feeling really excited, and then now it's like wonk, wonk, wonk.
That's stinky. So you said to me that the weather wasn't that bad before. I mean, you've been to Holland before too.
I'm obviously not from here, but from what Sandra told me is these are like the worst 2 years of weather they've ever had in like history. So it's just bad.
That's really bad.
Yeah, we didn't have a summer, and it was the worst summer they had ever, and like, I don't know, also in history, I just don't know. So that, and then Yeah, so I was feeling good, and it was making me more active. Like instead of biking to Aurora school, I was walking to get more exercise in. I was taking the dog with me, and and the whole time you're getting sun on your face finally, and I was like, yeah, right, I can do this. This is easy. Like if the sun's out, everything feels better. But yeah, that was a week. It was like it's like I went on vacation for a week.
I mean, the sun does make everything better.
It does.
It's true.
Sun is life. Sun is life. And then I started fasting again because I got COVID, and then because of the way that COVID hit me, which was like everything was coming out of me. That was basically how it hit me. I lost a lot of weight, and then when I started eating, it's like my body was, I guess it was in hunger mode where it was like, give me everything and let me store it right away. And I woke up one day and went, whoa, what just happened? There's like 2 Lucias up in here. What's going on over here? So I was like, no, I have to get back to fasting. And then I thought to myself, the first day I did it, I already felt amazing. Like I downloaded the app again. I'd taken off my phone and everything. I was like, why did I stop? I had done it for like half a year, and I felt amazing. And I was even like channeling even more intensely, and I was feeling really good. And then I remember thinking when I started again, like, why did I stop? I don't remember why I stopped, but at some point I stopped. So now I'm excited. I'm back on. I'm on week 2 or 3 now. It's week 2?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Probably 2.
So my goal is to get to a certain weight, and the app helps you. Like I can
log
give you
everything.
I can give you the link thing so you can add it to the show notes if anybody's interested in doing that.
Yeah,
But it's cool because it will tell you, like, are you looking to boost your immune system? Because you can people do fasting for various reasons. Or are you looking to lose weight? Or are you looking to, so the app kind of tells you. You don't have to pay, but you can decide to pay if you want. But without paying, you can still use it, and it like tracks your water and all this other stuff. So I've been feeling really good thanks to like taking back up the fasting. And yeah, I'm glad that it feels like an empowerment move for me. Like instead of sitting with like my scenario and going, oh, I think I gained some weight, and like, oh, struggling with it and beating myself up about it. I was like, okay, let me just feel good about it. Like, okay, that's it. I'm taking control back. Right.
It's the little things we do. Sometimes you don't realize those little things, those little changes or tweaks or shifts can make a huge difference overall and in like the long term. It could be fasting for you. It could be doing breath work for somebody else. It could be just taking time to go for a walk every day, get movement in. I think it's a culmination of many things, and I think our body will show us, and more you'll feel it. You feel off, right? It doesn't matter if it's weight or you just feel really tired or you don't feel like yourself. I think many times it's a physical symptom telling us something. We're not aligned with ourselves. We're not doing something that feels good for us. And that could be many things, right? But it'll affect us physically for sure.
Yeah. And it has this thing where I forgot about it. It makes you sleep way better. And I didn't remember that. I totally forgot about it. And Sandra started with me.
Why do you think? Because for me, if I'm hungry, I cannot sleep.
Yeah, but you're not hungry because, here in Holland, we eat dinner really early, right? So Sandra and I will stop because he's fasting with me now. We both started. And we finished dinner around 6:30. So then you start the fast. So you have to have a good meal. Your last meal has to be like a nice, good meal. And we're eating more consciously. Like we're making sure that there's always like vegetables. Like we're not just eating something that has no vegetables or no fruit right. And I'm breaking it. I'm breaking my fast more intentionally as well and stuff like that. So, but yeah. So at 6:30 around that time, we finish dinner and we just we start our fasting time. And then I usually have readings or I record with you or I have some sort of a session. So then I have that, and then I'll be drinking tea and water because it's a liquid fast. So I'll be drinking no sugar or no fruits in it stuff, but you're just drinking herbal tea and water. And then I go to sleep around 11. We usually go to sleep around 11. We're not hungry yet. There's no hunger. And then when you wake up, you have like a few hours left and you're done. And you did 16 hours.
That's great.
And the last hour of the fast, what I do is that's when I do my workout. So I burn extra fat during that last hour.
Well, that's not proven scientifically.
Well, you're burning, you go into keto. So the app tells you when you're already in keto. So, yeah. And so once you get into that, you're burning fat. And if you're using more energy in your body's needing it to get it from somewhere. So it's getting it from the storage it's already pulling from. So you're pulling more out. And I'm not feeling tired. I'm not feeling hungry. Like I'm drinking water and tea and I'm actually totally fine. And
that's good.
Working out, I don't get, I think if you would have asked me a few years ago, I would think that I get dizzy or like my blood pressure go down. It's like, no, totally fine, actually. And so that I've just been doing some cardio and then weights and things like that. And then walking, was walking to Aurora School, but now biking again because it's cold and I don't want to walk anymore.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh, well,
good. You gotta listen to your body.
That's right. I had the funny story I wanted to tell. Okay. So I forgot that it makes you sleep better. Right? So if you look it up and you Google it, there's this whole thing about it. I was like, it makes you sleep better. And I woke up the next day after the first day and I was like, I'm one of those people that I get up to go to the bathroom to pee at night 3 to 4 times every day of my life. Like it's normal for me. So that breaks me out of my sleep and I get up, I go to the bathroom, come back, get up 3 to 4 times a night. And I'm not going anymore to get up to go to the bathroom at night. Maybe once on a bad day, but now it's like none at all. And I'm drinking way more liquid, like way more. So I would think that it's worse, but it's not.
Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I haven't figured it out. I have not figured it out. So that, and so that night I was like, I woke up, I'm like, hey, Sandra, like I was in the deepest sleep, almost like when I came out of it, I felt like I was like, whoa, that was like a deep sleep. And he's like, me too. And then Julio, my good friend Julio, also started it. And then I asked him, and his partner started it too. And he said, yeah, us too. Like it was an insane deep sleep. And I was like, wow, yeah, okay. And then like the next day, the same thing. And then the third day in my dream, I went to someone, I said, dude, this like fasting thing, it's really like this dream, like it's insane. I sleep so well. I'm telling people in my dream, Lorena. Like I was commenting about how well I was sleeping because of the fasting. I was literally saying it to people in my dream.
You must really like it then.
So yeah, that was my funny story to tell.
Cool. Yeah, I think fasting's interesting. It served me in moments of my life, but yeah, now I don't really resonate with it much. Depends. Maybe not 16 hours, but I'm more mindful of the amount of hours I have between my meals, and that's helped me with my digestion a lot, actually. So that's even something to pay attention to. Like, are you overly snacking? Is your digestion, are you giving yourself like time to rest? Like between the digestion and the meals. I think that's also important. Cool. Okay, so that's going well. I guess keep us posted on how you feel. And the spiritual aspects of it, I think that's cool. Like you said, you channel more clearly.
Supposedly your brain starts functioning better too. And we know that, like, those that did the course with us know that we talk about how we use aspects of the brain to receive the channeled information, right? And the times that, like, I had to sit down and channel, like, manuals for us and things like that, it was like, when I'm on my fast, it's like, like, I'm just, it's coming and I'm typing and it's insane. So,
that's cool.
It's like it's not that I'm I get a little inspired because I'm feeling more clean. I'm feeling more energetic. My thought process is much cleaner. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It's weird. For me, my body, it functions. It functions really well.
That's a good point. Like, we all need to figure out what works for us. So what works for you might not work for me, might not work, if you have to try things out and see if they work, and obviously check with like a medical professional or your doctor or something before you try anything. But figure out what works for you, right? So, okay. So any other updates you want to share?
No, I think that's it. Been busy as well, between the candle course and the readings and the dual readings we're doing, and my own individual readings with other people and angelic healing, and yeah, it's been really nice.
That reminds me to remind everybody, and I've mentioned this in a few episodes, because we get the random email or message saying, "Hey, do you guys do readings?" So I feel like that's pretty obvious, I guess, when we do these episodes and the information we put on the show notes, but I guess maybe not. And we don't talk about it every day or every time we do a podcast episode. But yeah, we do, each of us do our own Akashic Record readings with people. They're all online, so they're on Zoom or Skype. And then we also do dual readings, which means that Lucia and I both open somebody's records at the same time and we both channel for that person. So yeah, those are some of the services we offer. I do flower essence therapy. Lou does like angelic healing. And I do mediumship and psychic readings as well. And Lou does also intuitive readings and some other stuff too. So, yeah, definitely check out our websites. The links are on the show notes and you can see all of our services and everything that we offer. So just a reminder, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we do get those questions and we're like, yeah, of course we do. Of course we offer that. That's like how this all started, right? So, all right, kick off the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing, I think let's talk with past lives, because I think past lives is what our last episode we talked a lot about with Courtney, right? We talked about how past lives, a lot of people will have issues they bring into maybe this one and they'll experience it through hypnosis and things like that. So I find that past lives is a really common term these days. In my opinion, it began at least for me, in my awareness, it began when I read the Brian Weiss book, which
I have it here. My friend just lent it to me and I started it the other day again.
It's amazing. It's
a good book.
The story of Catherine and his patient. And yeah, if you guys haven't read it, definitely read Brian Weiss, because that was the thing that, like, I think for a lot of people, that was the book that put them into like the spiritual path. Like it's like the beginner, right?
I think also like the Louise L. Hayes books, those were the first ones for me, like Heal Yourself through like her books and stuff.
I've never really gotten into her books. Yeah.
I loved her. Yeah, I loved her. I love her energy. She's passed, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I did get into Wayne Dyer, but that was much later on, much later on after Brian Weiss. But I loved his energy. So that's like, for me, that's past lives. Like your soul, a past life. If I had to go more technical into it from where I've been able to perceive it with the Akashic Records and the readings that, that I've done, it's insane the amount of different stories every soul has had. Like, it's so crazy and it's so amazing at the same time. And sometimes, like, people will have readings with me and this whole storyline of a past life comes up. And for the person's like, yep. I don't know, but that totally makes sense. Like, it's like they know it somehow from a subconscious level. They just don't remember it. I think that happens to a lot of us. But we've said it before that the Akashic Records are not going to gossip and be like, ooh, you were this and you were that and you were this and you were that. Because, the Akashic Records are not going to waste your time with and fill your brain with details and information that's just going to create, maybe it's going to create an interest in something that's going to distract you from your path, or it doesn't really matter in this lifetime. So they're just going to tell you what is currently or in this lifetime affecting you. Because I find that someone will come get a reading maybe today and they'll get, they're going through a cycle that's tied in with specific lifetimes. And then they might come get a reading with me 2 years later and another lifetime pops in that didn't pop in last time, because they're going through another cycle that's linked to another lifetime. So it's like, it's not like you just hear the 3 lifetimes that are linked to this one and it's done. Like, you can go into new cycles and new lifetimes will be attached to you in that cycle.
Those cycles to me reflect like the onion layers that we talk about, right? Like, we're peeling back those layers to work through different things within ourselves, within our soul, within our karmic lessons, within our struggles here. And then that to me would reflect like, oh, I brought up one layer, and this past life's coming up with this specific struggle I'm having. And then in a couple of months, I have another struggle and another past. And not every struggle we have here has to be linked to a past life. I also want to say that.
Yeah.
Because it not always has to be linked to something. It could be just something that we're dealing with in this life.
Yeah, true. A good thing to kind of clarify. And the other thing to clarify is basically a past life is your soul playing another actor. Like it's another body. It's another character. No, an actor. Replace that word with character. It's your soul playing another character. So it's going to have another body, another personality, another mission, different interests. And maybe it's born in different places in the world. Maybe it has a different family. So that's what a past life would be in this case. And if you were wanted to look in the future and say future lives of the soul, well, it's the same thing. It's another lifetime on another timeline with different purposes and missions, different body, different personality, all that stuff. I don't know if you've had dreams, but I've had dreams about fewer. Like I can think off the top of my head 2 past life dreams where it's like I knew right away. It's like, oh, this is a past life. Like I knew it right away. And they had to do with things that I had to understand about things that were surrounding me at the time. So there was a purpose for that.
That's never happened to me. To me, it's more like when I meditate that can come up. I have to be more like awake, more conscious.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like I relive it.
That seems pretty intense though, doesn't it?
Oh my God. I woke up the other day and I was like, Sander, I had a dream of past life. And he looks at me like I'm completely nuts. And I'm like, I swear to God, it's real. Because he was involved in it. And he was my brother. And I was describing this whole thing. And I'm like, I swear to God, Sander, that was an experience your soul and my soul had. And it had something to do with like our pending like lives here. And so it tied in a lot of things that made me understand.
Wow.
Yeah. And he just, it's like talking to a wall. He's like, yeah,
it's
sure.
A lot.
Yeah, it's too much for him.
And not everybody, we've talked about this in past episodes about past lives. Like you can do a past life regression where you can maybe connect with past lives specifically, but an Akashic Record reading is more about healing the present. And that might mean you need to look at the past, be it your physical past now, like when you were growing up, or it could be a past life. But I think some people go into readings thinking it's all about past lives, and it's not. It will only come up, like you said, when it's needed and when it's in tune with whatever you're going through, because that can bring so much clarity. Like it can help you connect the dots. It can help you understand what you're going through deeper. And it's brought a lot of clarity to me personally when I look at past lives and what I'm going through. And even clients that have said, wow, this resonates so much, or they even knew that, or somebody else said it to them, or they had a dream about it, like you said. So I think it's significant. I think it's an interesting thing to look at when we're talking about healing. And that's what the Akashic Records are all about, right? Healing, understanding ourselves, aligning with our soul, aligning with our mission, our purpose, and being able to be who we need to be here so that we can continue to grow and not repeat struggles or lessons. And that being said, it feels a lot like, at least this is how I see it come through mostly, and this is how we generally, I think, speak about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lou, but that past life, many times for me, when I do a reading, will come up for somebody. For example, they'll show a past life, something they're feeling, something they went through, how it contrasts with what they're going through now. And generally I see like they're showing that life either because generally it's because something that they didn't learn in that past life and that they're coming back to experience it differently, or something pending in a way, right? Something pending, or because they need to understand an emotion they're going through today that it's not necessarily like pending, but they're trying to show them why that emotion is so strong today. So it comes through in different ways for me. I don't know for you.
Or to explain a scenario. That's the example I've given before myself, like where I was having a really like difficult scenario with someone in my life, and then the reader just described, this was the first reading I ever had. The reader described a past life scenario where my soul was just the giver of that scenario, and then this life I'm the receiver. And it's almost like somehow I was able to stop crying about it and be like, okay, you know what, that I get it. It's not like I stopped, it's not like your feelings go away, but somehow you feel less hurt because it makes sense. It just made sense. Like I accepted it. I didn't question it. She repeated it. I said, wow, that makes complete sense. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
You can bring closure in that sense too for many things.
Yeah, it can
which
help
I
you
find so healing.
Yeah, it'll help you get over trauma, fear, or even maybe if you don't feel worthy of the path that you're choosing and they know that you need to hear that you're here to do that via past life. Like there's so many different scenarios that I've had to see and share with people. I've had readings where they're like, it's not even anything trauma or emotional related. It's just like, I see this, and this, and they're like, oh my God, in this lifetime, I'm obsessed with that. And it was just to let them know that they're connected to that lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. It's so interesting how it can just mix in there. And for each person and each reading and each question they ask, it can be something completely different. But in essence, like you explained it is your soul in another life. So your soul being incarnated into another body with a different personality, living a different soul contract for that life. And with that comes lessons, struggles, certain personality things or traits that can affect those lessons. And it's all linked. It's like we choose our body, we choose our personality because that's going to help us understand and learn certain lessons.
Yeah.
It's crucial, right?
So that's how we describe past lives. And now we're going to try to talk about parallel lives. So parallel lives, it's the same body, it's the same personality, and it's the same purpose and mission, but the only difference it is you've made different decisions, you've accepted different scenarios, or you walked different paths. So it's like your soul's living out this lifetime, but things are changed up somehow.
This is where I get a little confused because to me it feels like it doesn't have to. Does it have to be the same body and the same everything? Because it brings me back to remember that episode we did with Courtney, where she talks about the orangutan.
Yeah, but that's that. I don't know. Yeah, that could be that. You could put that in the category of parallel life, but that's another mission, and that's another purpose, and that's another body. So it's actually another life experience just on the same timeline, like during the same time. But the thing is...
And do parallel lives have to be on the same timeline? I suppose so, or not?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but the weird thing is, like, for us, linear time exists, right? The way I once tried to understand it better, and the way that Akashic Records were showing me was like, let's say my soul is here and is Lucia today, right? And then my soul's like, okay, I'm retrieving from this lifetime, I'm done, or, whatever. And she leaves. And she's like, actually, I kind of think I want to take advantage of, like, I don't know, the 1950s, because there was this scenario playing out, and I kind of feel like I would progress from there. And then she'd go, boom. And she would go back to the 1950s after doing 2020.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get that, yeah. Because that's something that we talked about in time. Remember that dream I had? I did a whole audio and we talked about it in an episode of how time isn't like left to right. It's up and down. It's different. It's not the way we think or they've taught us to believe that time is. Time is actually flexible. Time can, it's like taking an elevator,
Yeah. It's okay. Wait, let me try to make that neater because that's really confusing. This is Lucia's opinion and perspective from what I've seen. I could be wrong, or I could get it somehow wrong, but this is how I've been able to perceive it, and I've managed to get my human brain to understand the best I can through what the Akashic Records have given me with like the time that I've had to look into it. For me, under the word parallel lives is the same character, the same body, the same mission, the same purpose, but different scenarios playing out. So like I made different decisions, and I'm going to give a few examples that I can think of off the top of my head. And then for me, if you have another lifetime that's going on where the soul is also here in 2020, but like in Courtney's, like you said, in Courtney's example, it's the orangutan over there. I think humans could label it parallel lives, but it could be that the soul jumped back here. I'm saying back, but for her it's not back, but okay. The soul jumped back and said, oh, actually, I'm going to go again and do the orangutan scenario in Courtney's case, right? So it might have not happened where her energy was so divided into 20 different characters at the same time. It might be that the soul can, like, you know how I see it? It's like I see the soul going and picking the area it wants to jump into.
Yeah, I can see that.
And
but
Lucia was here, but then she can come back and decide she plays someone else.
I don't know why I'm feeling it different, but yeah,
it's another
I get
timeline.
it.
That's not a past life. That's just another life experience. To me.
So parallel to me means that it's happening at the same time.
It is happening at the same time, but time doesn't exist for them. You got to get out of your human brain.
That's right. Okay, I'm just trying because I don't connect often or probably very much in the readings with parallel lives. So I find this. I'm just trying to learn with what's coming through, and I'm trying to reason it in a way so that I can ask the right questions to the Akashic Records. But yeah, so there has to be something similar. There needs to be some similarity if it's parallel, right?
For me, yes, because if not, it's not. This is very technical words. So like some people might call it parallel, but if I'm trying to get really specific so we can understand it better, to me at least, parallel for me means parallel to this lifetime. Like it means that my reference is to Lucia, so it has to be parallel to Lucia. And if it's not Lucia and if it's that orangutan, then for me, it's another lifetime.
See, that's where I think the parallel will be the soul, right? This is what I'm getting. I'm going to explain what I'm getting, right? Okay.
The soul is still divided into that. The soul's still having that experience.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's say it's me and there's a parallel life here. So when I say me, I'm talking about soul, right? It's my soul. My soul is having parallel experiences, separate lives, right? So I'm having my experience here, Lorena, the podcast, the readings, the reader. And then there's another, I don't know, because I don't know if I have a parallel life going on at the moment. I don't feel that, but could be. And to me, it's not me. It's me in a different form, but my soul connected to that another body, living a different experience where I can possibly, and this is something we've talked about in past episodes, where I can tap into some of those emotions in that parallel life because it's my soul having that experience, right?
You can tap into any lifetime, even a past life or even a future life. So
it's sometimes, like we were saying, like sometimes you can feel it. You're like, why am I feeling this way? And I don't know why I'm feeling this way.
I can only consciously, I personally only feel connected to other versions of Lucia that can extremely affect me. Like the example I gave about that time where I was feeling really sick, like it hit me out of nowhere. And I was feeling really sick. And I was like, this is wrong. What's wrong with me right now? This came out of nowhere. What is this? And I was getting really worried because it was pretty bad. And I remember I sat down and I like semi-meditated and I prayed and I was just going, like I was falling asleep. Like it just hit me. And then I ended up having the whole experience where I literally, Lucia's here consciousness was able to live the scenario of the other parallel Lucia experience. And she was going through a lot of she was very emotionally upset. So that version of Lucia was very emotionally upset. She was going through like a breakup with my now partner here, but I was breaking up with him and this whole scenario was playing out and we were ending it and I was really feeling it. And the Lucia that is me here was feeling what the other Lucia was going through because it is the exact same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it wouldn't be the exact Lucia. It can't be the same body. There's only one of you.
Think about it. Oh, I don't know how to explain this. I don't fully know the explanation, but
it's another version of you, but it's not Lucia because there's only one Lucia.
They're all Lucias. She thought just like me. She made different decisions, so she's different in some sort of way. But it was Lucia. Remember we talked about an episode where we did like we talked about the body, right? And then we talked about the soul, and then we talked about the spirit, which is the program that's embedded into this character to help me play this character better. So it's the same spirit. The same spirit's connected to all of those Lucias.
Okay. I connect with it differently for some reason. Like I'm not feeling like the parallel life needs to be another Lorena. It feels like it can be my soul connected to something different, but needs to experience something in parallel in the sense of like the timeline, because it's going to be more efficient.
But the reality is that it doesn't really, parallel lives don't really exist for them, because nothing's parallel, because time doesn't exist. We're just trying to like describe it from our human brains, which is not easy, because we're trying to understand a concept that can't be understood by the human brain anyways, in a way, right?
Yeah, no, I get that. Like, you know what I think is probably there's a lot of ways around this. Like, it's not one answer. It's not one way of seeing it.
I think it's a lot of perspectives.
I think maybe I connect more with what I'm saying, but you see it more that way. But it doesn't mean that what I'm saying is right or wrong, or what you're saying is right or wrong. It could be all of it and maybe more that we're not even tapping into.
I'm not even saying you're wrong at all.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
I just categorize it in my brain for me to make it neater and understand it better and to separate. I know, for example, like this, there's people that teach this, and I totally resonate with that, and I totally believe that. That's why I for me personally, I separate it. If this Lucia right here is successful in like being aligned with herself and being in tune, it's like a ripple effect, and my ripple effect is actually helping the other Lucias.
Yeah, I see. I that's 100%.
That doesn't happen with another body. Your trauma and your fear can attach to another lifetime. Like, for example, let's say that Lucia has a past life with a guy's body named Adam. And maybe Adam like had a car accident and was run over, and then Lucia here in this lifetime has fear of cars, right? That can happen. Like, you can have traumas, fears, or things that are attached to you, your soul somehow from other lifetimes. But the ripple effect doesn't happen like it were in parallel lives with the same body, the same purpose, the same spirit, the same character. That's why I separate it. Why do you think that exists?
Yeah, I see it a little bit. I can see what you're coming from, but I connect with it differently for whatever reason. But I guess, like, why would the soul want to do that?
It's like more bang for your buck, I guess. You get more experiences. You get to find out how it feels like if you failed, if you did it well. I don't know. Like, I've never really looked into it. It's like, remember when we like read Akashic Records with people and we talk about probability lines and possibility lines? It's just the soul's living through all those probability and possibility lines. Mm-hmm. It's actually walking down all those routes. It's just you're the portion of the consciousness that's in front of me right now. You're living the line that you've actively chosen your free will. And there's other Lorenas that chose other free wills that are going down those other lines. They're all being experienced, because that's what the soul wants to do at the end of the day. Have more experiences. Yeah. I don't know how it works energy-wise. Like, I know the soul gets fragmented in some sort of a way. I just don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't technically understand. I haven't been able to understand that to the point to say, this is my perspective, this is how I understand it, because I'm not there yet.
To me, it feels like part of the soul contract. Like, in the contract, what they're showing me is, like, the contract will say, like, it will show parallel lives. So it's something like we can ask about past lives. We can ask about parallel lives too.
Yeah. And then, okay, it feels like the other thing I can think of is the reader that we both got a reading for the first time many, many years ago. Before we were readers, we got a reading from a lady in Uruguay, right? And then later on, we did courses like with her or with her institute or whatever. And then she at one point talked about how she was feeling really ill one day, similar to what I had, a year or so ago, that I was saying, like, something hit me. She said that she was feeling really, really, really sick. Like she was feeling like her body, it was her body that was reacting. In my case, I was feeling many different things, but she was saying it was her body. And then she ended up connecting with Akashic Records and found out that another version of herself, what I, Lucia, would call parallel life, one of her parallel lives in that same moment was in the hospital and had a severe accident. And she was connecting to that.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. But let's go back to the Courtney, because we've already talked about this. So it's funny we're using Courtney a lot in this one. But like, let's go back to the Courtney scenario where like the orangutan that is another fragmentation of Courtney's soul right now. Let's say that orangutan gets sick and ends up in like some sort of a vet or hospital. The probability of her feeling it is lower than if it were another version of Courtney. That's the ripple effect. Okay. So that's the only reason why I mentally, Lucia, like to separate what I call parallel life, what I call other lifetimes, what I call past lives. I'm just putting things in categories and boxes so I can better understand what affects what in what way. That's all I'm doing, really.
Yeah.
But it could still be called, you could still call it parallel life because it's happening in this timeline, even though for them it doesn't. I mean, if we were to zoom out even more, make it even more complicated, you'd say
other like galaxies and universes.
No, just stay on Earth. All the past lives your soul is living, they're all happening right now too, because time doesn't exist for them. So it can get even worse.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, even looking at that, we're just talking about parallel lives and how that can affect us today, what we're feeling in this life here, like the conscious person that we are. We can also feel things from a past life in a different way though, right? Like we can have residual things where we didn't deal with them. So we're struggling with something. So we still feel it. We know something's up. We're like, why is this happening? It makes no sense. Like my soul's attached to something, some idea, some lesson. So in that way, like it's different, but we're still attached to it somehow when there's a pending issue there or when there's a struggle.
Yeah.
And then if we think about like how that, like if we think about it like here, like our conscious, like the person we are, and think about our families and how we can inherit things from them too, how that's passed on. So we can feel their pain without us even knowing we're feeling their pain. So I can take on my mom's pain. Like I did that. I physically did that, right? I took on my mom's or our mom's pain from when her brother died. And I saw her go through depression. I saw her cry. I saw her lock herself in the room. I saw her go through everything that she went through, which was really hard. And she was very far away from him.
Remember, like,
that was like really traumatic.
Oh my, yeah. I remember the whole thing too.
Yeah. And then years later, I'm talking when I was like 30 something, looking at her and seeing all this, like, I guess, I don't know why it like came, you know what I think it was, is because it was around the age that he had died. Cause he had died around 32.
He died 35.
30 something, yeah.
35.
So it was around like 30, like early 30s.
I thought our uncle died at 35. Like
I thought something was going to happen, yeah. So I think there was a part of me that reconnected with all that pain that she had lived through, and I had convinced myself that was going to happen to me or something. I don't know. And I was getting physical pain in my body because I was holding on to the pain. So I had to do a whole family constellation session.
I didn't even know about this.
Oh my God. I had pain
I?
in my hip. You weren't in, I don't think you were in Uruguay. I don't think you were in Uruguay. But I do remember going to family constellations after a year and a half of like not being able to run. I was getting all these MRIs, tests. Like they're like, you're fine. I went to physio. And then literally an hour and a half after the session, I was like, it's gone. I was running again. I was literally the physical pain I was holding on my body was from that emotional pain that I was subconsciously trying to hold on for mom, because I felt like I was like honoring her some way by honoring the pain that she felt. I didn't realize I was doing it. That's the weird part about it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we like, even when we're feeling
from other family members. That kind of reminds me of like Dad, how, Dad was never recognized as his biological father's son, right? But his mom, aka our grandma, his mom was like the best mom ever, right? And so and the way he talks about her, like you're like, man, she sounded like the best person ever, because we never really got to meet her, right? And I think about that, and I kind of had like this loyalty towards her, like, that guy that just like left her hanging, right? And she had to figure out how to make money on her own and have a child. I always felt like an honor for her, and I always felt like protective a little bit of it. And when I did my family constellation with Mariana, who we had on the podcast.
Marina. No, it's Mariana.
Marina.
It's Marina, right? Yeah, Marina. Yeah. I always get it wrong.
Yeah, me too. It's just normal name in Spanish is always Mariana. So when I did my session with her, at one point, like we realized, and I never thought about it, we realized that I was rejecting him, like the biological father, right, that Dad had. I was rejecting him, and then somehow it came out like, yeah, but without him, you wouldn't exist, because like he was needed, his DNA and all that was needed for your creation. I'm like, holy moly, I never thought to actually thank him for existing, actually. And it became this whole thing, and I got emotional about it. I think I was releasing that wasn't really mine, right? Because I didn't go through that scenario. I just heard about it.
No, but we absorb everything.
Well, we inherit it as well. It could be in our DNA.
That pain,
yeah. That's why they say like clear your junk out before you have kids.
Yeah, because then we're living our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents' struggle. So I just wanted to mention those 3 different things because I feel like in some way there is always a parallel in something, right? But parallel lives, I can see where you're saying it could be us physically in a different, living something differently, and that we could maybe perceive it if it's us living that in a different way. And then also I do believe that it could be like Courtney's story. It could be something where it could be an animal. It could be, like I'm trying to think back to the episode where she talked about that. And I think she's like, yeah, it was like her soul needed to experience that freedom of like just hanging out.
Exercise. I remember she told a story. Some sort of exercise did. Yeah. That reminds me of the one time that I was channeling, I was trying to figure out, like, can you reincarnate, right? Like, I knew that you can reincarnate as a plant, and then you can move on to animal, and then you can move on to a human being. But I was trying to figure out, is there any other way to do it? Is that the way all souls do it? And what I seemed to understand at the time was that you can't jump right. Souls don't seem to jump into humans because they wouldn't be able to handle it. It's like too much too soon because this is 3D. It's really dense. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot to experience before you can actually fully function tied to the human body. So they seem to progress up, like from consciousness that need more attention and more energy. Like for a plant, they need a little bit more energy than like a piece of rock, for example, right? Because you can even be a rock, like mineral.
Yeah. Yeah, you generally tend to upgrade.
Yeah, but doesn't mean you can go backwards, right? The soul can't decide that, you can still decide, oh, I want to be this over here. And one day I was channeling the thing about like why so many souls were thinking about veganism or looking into veganism and things like that. I was trying to figure out that whole scenario. Like, is it part of a conscious awakening? Because some people are really spiritual and they still eat meat and some people are not. And one of the things that the Akashic Records at the time were giving me was that there could be a lot of people on Earth that are currently the human body, but they can also decide to be a cow or a chicken, and then they end up eating a cow and chicken. So they're actually eating possibly an experience that the soul's having as that entity at the time. If that makes sense.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What?
So like,
no. Really?
Yeah. Of course. Look at the orangutan. Let's pretend that the orangutan that was Courtney. We should let her know that we talked about her a lot in this episode.
Yes, we should.
But let's pretend that Courtney, instead of being orangutan, is a cow. We know Courtney's a vegan, but let's say that she's not a vegan. Let's say that instead of the orangutan, she's a cow, and then the cow that her soul's in is killed, and then somehow she ends up going to the butcher that's selling that piece of meat that's a cow. You're actually eating the meat that used to be part of your soul's consciousness.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Or she could be friends with it.
Yeah, of course, you could be friends with it.
She could have a farm and be friends with it.
Yeah, of course you can, yeah. Your dog could possibly be a fragmentation of your soul, having another experience from another side.
Mm-hmm. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I love that, though.
I do find, though, that most of the time, if they're living...
They're not so close.
They try not to meet up with each other too much, because the idea is to experience other...
Agreed.
Yeah. But it can happen. It doesn't mean no. Like, there's no rule that says you can't. They don't. It just says the reality is normally souls will decide to experience things in different areas and different bodies and totally different things, kind of thing, right?
It's more efficient in that way, like you said. They're able to get more done.
So then you have like a bunch of karma with yourself. Go figure that one out. Like,
oh my gosh, imagine that.
Like that would be really
that would
complicated.
Not be good.
Yeah, no.
That would be.
I treated myself
nuts.
Really badly, and now I gotta go treat myself well.
Well, then you'd learn to love yourself. Right.
Yeah, I know, but it's like it gets even more complicated. You got to continue to fragment the soul and put it in this experience together again and try to get it to. Wow, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
So you were saying like other galaxies when we were talking about like complicating things. This is something I still haven't figured out. I'm still trying to understand it. Like I've tried to understand it, and I'm still kind of like, to me, a lot of the times when aliens are supposedly on ships or they're coming to visit us, I think a lot of them are time travelers. So I think that a lot of them are not actually on our timeline. They know that they're, for example, they know shit's about to happen and they want to come like visit us for a second to see if we like wake up a little bit. Like they can't really intervene in my opinion. They can't intervene too much, but like they know what timelines, and they can help us change it, like possibly, right? By helping us channel information and things like that. So for us, I think that Earth is a very timeline dense reality. And I think that we're one of the few planets that vibrate on 3D that have this scenario. And I think that they live time in a totally different way. And so their incarnation planning is totally different. Also, supposedly they live much longer than we do. Here, we talked about this on an episode. We called it like the boot camp, the soul boot camp. Like this is seriously boot camp. It's like it's short-lived, it's intense, it's difficult, and it's probably going to beat you up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that if you zoom out of Earth and you go into other planets and other dimensions and other beings and races, they live. I don't feel like they have parallel lives like we do, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I get the feeling like when we were talking about we can have our soul be living a parallel life. To me, that can also reflect a different planet, completely different experience. But I think that's a little way not as common.
I think you can, but I think it's a different time frame. It's the future. I think it's usually the future. I think those are our future lifetimes. I'm totally convinced of that.
I'm not getting anything on that, but see, this is like what we were talking about, like when Lucy was talking about how she parallel lives and even past lives. It was something that I had to really wrap my head around this stuff before I could start channeling it.
Parallel lives.
Yeah. No, yeah. It
took me years to accept it.
This is why it's important to talk about stuff, even if we have our Akashic records open, but I connect very much with past lives, but not so much with parallel lives. It's something I'm starting to open up to. So this is why I'm asking so many questions, because I think that's helping answers come through and me to be able to see it and to see the different perspectives. But I think also it's difficult to channel something when you quite don't understand it, or not that you don't believe it, because I do believe there are parallel lives. It's just I don't think my head's fully wrapped around it to say I'm 100% open to it and I'm going to receive fully. So that goes to show also when we open our own records, when there's things that we're doubting or we're not sure and we're like, why am I not getting these answers? Like really question if you're open to it. Even if it's you being open to receiving your own healing. Am I really open to healing? Am I really open to this? Because I think that's a good point we're saying now we're trying to figure this stuff out. But going back to what we were saying, I do feel like, I don't know. I don't feel like it has to be future. I don't feel that necessarily.
They're not on the timeline with you. You're on
I know,
Earth.
but if we look at it, I know, but if we look at it in like the rational way, to me, it's in the same. It could be future, it could be past, but to me, when we ask a question in the Akashic records, right, it's happening parallel. Maybe it is a future, maybe it's a past, but they're showing it to me as parallel. I'm only saying this because I've like I said, I don't receive a lot of parallel life information, but when I do, a couple times it has been where the soul's not here. It feels like the soul's somewhere else.
Oh, but that's like this for me, in my opinion. For me, that's when the soul has a portion of itself home.
Maybe that's it.
Like the whole soul doesn't incarnate here because I think, well, first of all, for my studies and for what I've tried to understand is that the whole soul essence doesn't even fit into the body. The body would explode. Like the body can't hold it. The whole
we've talked about that before,
right?
Yeah.
So there is that's the fragmentation. Like the soul will divide itself in pieces, have different experiences. Maybe be a cow and be Lucia. Maybe over there be a piece of like avocado, like be an avocado tree, right? Maybe those three experiences are being had on the same timeline in fragmentations of the soul. What was the question? Wait, I lost my train of thought. What was
I was saying that for me, parallel lives can be at the same time and the soul being on a different planet.
Yes, okay. And then I think that still there's a portion of the soul that's left over from those three beings and entities. And I think that there's still half of the soul left that's over there at home base.
Yeah, but that goes to show maybe when we do a reading, that's not information that comes through because it's not it doesn't, they don't need that information. The person doesn't need that information to get the answers.
It's too much for the human brain to understand.
It's too much.
And what their Akashic records are giving me right now is that it's not that they don't want us to understand it. It's that there's this whole human rationale or like logical thought process that makes us feel divided from source that they don't want us to experience, because that will set us back from our purpose to realign with our higher self and come back home. So if they came and told you, hey, Lorena, by the way, you're only 1/3 of your soul and the 2/3 are at home, totally disconnected right now from you in a way, and you're going to feel alone. And they
100%. I agree.
But you're not disconnected. You're always connected. You're always connected anyways.
Always. But that goes to show free will too. Like how deep do we want to go? So we're not ready to hear everything. Not all of us will receive that information, but maybe some of us are. Can we not ask those questions when we get a reading or when we open our own records? Might be worth a shot if it's something you're interested in to understand yourself more.
Because I had heard stories about lifetimes where like the person has too much of a heavy purpose, mission, or like the energy around them is so dense 3D, and the soul like underestimated itself and should have sent a little bit more power into that body, into that consciousness that it decided to be. And I thought, well, why isn't it just like a charger? Like you take out the old batteries and I was literally thinking this, right? Take out the old batteries, put it on the charger and grab the other portion of itself and put it in here. And they're like, no, because that would disconnect from the body. The silver cord would disconnect and the body would die.
Right.
So to me, that was a solution. But then, they quickly
confirmed that it was not.
That we're not just batteries that can be interchangeable with the rest of the soul that's not currently in the consciousness. Yeah. Here in this consciousness, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay, so I don't know if you have a lot more to say about but I think a good way to end this episode, because obviously we always focus on the Akashic records. That's like our thing, and we're all about healing, and we're all about understanding ourselves. So basically, we've really gone into parallel lives and past lives, right? So in regards to the Akashic records, or maybe even getting a reading, how can we heal? Like, how can these two different elements help us heal within a reading or within the information we receive from our Akashic book, for example, the realm, like the Akashic realm?
Your number one purpose, this is what they're explaining to me, your number one purpose is to be present, which means that we shouldn't actually be concentrating on past, present, future, parallel, other versions, other beings, I'm here to be this Lucia right here, right now. And the biggest problem we have is that humans, with all the distractions we have just in the 3D world, we're not able to stay present, which allows us to like really live out this lifetime. And then add on to that, our new spiritual curiosity, they're saying to me, that distracts the human being even further from being present, because I'm too busy thinking this over here and that over there and this over there and then that past life and this future life and this, maybe I have a soul in another planet and like, right? So but
I mean, when it comes up like organically, like someone's just asking about a problem or an issue or a struggle.
Just bring it in and accept it and be kind with the information you're receiving yourself, and then let it take with it what it needs to from the sadness, the emotion, the trauma, the stuck energy. It's like the information, if it is fed to you, it needs to come in and be processed, not overly processed, because that's not being present, but processed and then released.
Yeah, like a lot of people, like what they'll say after a reading, and I felt this too, it's like, I have a lot to process. I have a lot to integrate. I have a lot to digest. You know what I mean? That happens a lot. So I find it even more powerful when past life information comes through organically. That's why I asked about the organic part of it, because it feels like the person's not asking about it. I personally, as a reader, don't know if they believe in past lives or not, but it's coming up. And then if they really resonate with it, which they generally tend to do, it feels like it really does help them release something that they feel that they can't let go of or they can't heal. And it's like you said, the information comes in to your brain in some way, but all of a sudden it makes you feel something. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that makes sense. and oh, okay. And then they might even get emotional. I've seen people get really emotional with past life information because it literally brings up the exact emotions they're feeling in this life, but they're living it out differently. So that on one hand, parallel lives, I haven't seen it come through too much in the sense of like healing, like in a past life with emotions.
Maybe 2 readings in like all the years I've read. That's like max.
I know. I would say maybe 4 or 5, but what it has done, which I find it really interesting, which can also be considered healing, right? It's made them understand themselves, because especially, like I said, a lot of the parallel life stuff I'm seeing is like, it feels like it's not here on Earth. It feels like it's somewhere else. And all of a sudden they're like, I've heard people say, I don't feel like I'm from here.
Well, it's starseeds, right? We have a lot of them here.
Yeah. So maybe part of their soul, like you said, is home.
Yeah.
And that's confirming that to them.
If you think about it, though, I'm sorry, I'm just starting a whole new subject, so I'm just not gonna. No, like, I think we're all starseeds, because none of us
we are all
Earth,
starseeds.
right? Nobody's from Earth. So the word starseed for me means like every human being that ever existed.
I agree. I kind of agree with that too. But I think mostly when that information's come up in readings, for my readings at least, it feels like it's validated something in the person that's been interesting, and I didn't even know the person needed that. And you're like, oh, wow, like this makes sense to you. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means because it's not my information, but you needed to hear that for whatever reason. That goes for like
everything you say in a reading. You don't know the person at all. You're saying things all the time, and you don't really know what they mean half the time, but the person totally does, right?
That's why it's important to always say everything that comes through. That's your job, right, as a reader. But at the same time, I don't know, it feels interesting. It's like validating in a different way than me just telling them, you're feeling this, you're feeling that. It kind of allows them, because usually, especially I think with parallel lives, it's stuff that, like you said, you don't understand it. You're feeling a certain way, or you don't, you know what I mean? And it's all of a sudden, it's like that not only validates what I'm emotionally going through, maybe, because it might be something they're physically going through, like our reader, like our Akashic Record reader, like she was physically feeling sick. But I think that can also heal you, because you realize that's not yours, and you'll be like, you can let that go. You can release it. So that could be really healing in that sense too. Same with past lives, I guess, in that sense.
Most of that information, like you said, that people have to say, oh, I have a lot to digest or process. And that is something that we need to make sure not to get obsessed with and to like release it. Yeah. Most of I would say, I don't know, like it's like 60-40. Like a big percentage is you processing it, but a really, really big percentage of it is actually happening on a subconscious level, where your mind's just receiving it, and there's already a process going on behind like closed doors in your mind that's processing it through that information, and it's like that's able to help release. So a lot of times, just the person hearing that, they don't know that it healed them, but it healed them just by hearing it. But maybe they didn't even think about it too much.
100%, yes.
I don't know why that happens. It's a little weird, but that does happen.
Do you know what I just came to mind? And I think this could be maybe our next episode. Like, what happens after a reading? Like, processes that people go through, things that you can do. Like you're talking, don't get stuck on these things, and how we can go into maybe some of that. I don't know. It's an idea I'm having, and maybe it could be a solo episode if you don't want to do it. But I think it'd be interesting, because I've had so many different experiences after a reading, and how I truly believe, and I tell people, and this is something that I realized through my own experience with the records. It was like, some people get stuck on this idea, like I'm in this reading for 60, 90 minutes, whatever it is, and the healing only happens there. And it's like, no, actually, healing can continue after a reading too. And that can happen in different ways. And we can talk about the recording and like, not, all these things that I think could be interesting. I don't know. Just I'm throwing it out there. Maybe I'll put that question on. There's like little polls you can do on Anchor FM where we host. So maybe I'll put that out there, or on Instagram, and see if you guys would be interested in that to talk about. But yeah, I think we both learned a lot today. I think we need to keep connecting with this information and keep bringing you guys like any updates that we get on our end too, because I think there's a lot to learn. And as we open our perspective and our mind to more things around these topics,
but
especially
even if we don't understand
lives,
it, like even if we still don't have it right, even if there's details that are like kind of missing out, we're not supposed to know that. If not, we would, anything that we're supposed to like know that's going to be something that adds to this lifetime, we're going to receive that information is going to come to us, right? We're going to get it.
100%, yeah.
Like,
I just think I'm not fully open to it 100%. That's my point. As I open more up to this idea, I'm sure we'll be able to channel more about it and understand it and maybe experience it more, because now us talking about this might mean that when we do a reading, I might start getting more of this information, because that's how it freaking works, right? It's that way. It's that insane. So, yeah, awesome. Okay, so we're going to close off the episode now. If you guys are interested in a reading, we'll put all of our information below, our contact details. So we have forms you can contact us on. And we still have our packages going too, so feel free to click on the link that we'll include in the show notes. And we'll keep you guys posted on level 2. So we'll see you guys next week. And we hope you guys have a great week, day, or weekend, whatever you guys are listening to this. And we'll send you guys lots of love and healing and light. And we hope to see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you.